Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Sy Huffer and Friends, a podcast to help you flourish at life and relationships. This podcast really is designed because I have the best friends in the world, and I think my friends help me flourish in life and relationships, and they will help you flourish. And so this month, we are focusing in on this idea of habits, spiritual habits, and how you can develop these habits that help transform your character and your calling in life. And that's what leads to the Made for More life that we talk about, the Gathering Christian Church. And so today I'm real excited. I get to introduce you all to my father-in-law, John Lanzone. So John, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your family, what you do for a living, and what you do now.
Well, good morning. Um, yeah, um, you know, my family, two kids, two grandkids, had a great career up in the grocery business. I mean, something that I just got hooked into. I think I fell in love with the customers, fell in love with the teammates, and it was just something that went on for over 40 years.
40
So
years.
now I'm sitting here in Florida, been retired for two.
Wow. And
What a
so you
blessing.
started, I mean, just going back, and well, this is one of the things I love about my father-in-law, John, is he is one of the most just kind-hearted, servant-hearted man I've ever met. I do not like serving other people. I am very self-centered when it comes to that. And this guy, he has really challenged me and modeled for me what it looks like as a husband, as a father, as a man of God to serve others. And I think you had that. I don't know if that was something you developed or that was just natural to you, but like starting as a high schooler, you were pushing carts at a grocery store and worked
Right.
all the way up to a grocery store. I mean, share a little bit about that journey, starting there and all the way up to grocery store manager for 20 some odd years.
20, 40.
30. Well, you weren't a manager for
Oh,
40, were you?
okay,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
thought you
yeah.
were going to say, man, you got us young.
Yeah.
Uh, no, no. You know, I took the job when I was 16 years old.
Hmm.
Like you said, pushing carts, started it, and I had friends from school that worked there as well. So it was a fun place to work. It was just a small independent grocery store, and we just had a good time. And I think what happened was, you know, everybody tried to outdo each other at work. I mean, things were a race back then. I
Hmm.
mean, you didn't leave the parking lot with one cart on the parking lot if it was all the way down by the bank or down by the post office. You ran and got it. We wanted the next day when our boss came into work said, "Oh, I could tell John worked last night because
Ah,
everything was done." And it just that part of it almost we got competitive when it came to stocking aisles. We used to race to see who could put the most pieces up, and just it was fun. And then that's kind of where the serving part truly came in for me. I liked people even back then when I was 16, 17 years old to be able to come to the grocery store and get the stuff that they wanted and needed, and it'd be a good experience for them. And that just stuck with me. It
hmm.
just was something that I always, then became as a produce or a department manager or a lead in any other of the departments that I worked in. It was just try to help people, teach them, show them what to do, and it just kept growing.
Hmm.
Just
That's
kept growing.
awesome. I love that.
Mhm.
I think it's pretty neat. I feel this. You may not feel this, but I feel like our relationship started. Like I'm, of course, dating your daughter. We get married. I feel like over the last several years we've become friends. It's not just like father-in-law, son-in-law relationship, but like we bond and have a friendship too. And so, how would you describe that process? Like, like here's this guy dating my daughter, marrying my daughter, and now I think we have a genuine friendship.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I think I guess the first time I met you, we were at OCC,
Yeah,
and I think it was in the student center, and we
yeah,
were in there
yeah.
playing ping pong.
Ping pong. Yeah.
So everybody was playing ping pong. Monica and I were a doubles team that couldn't be beat. I mean, there wasn't a college kid in that room that could take us that time, and everything. So I think just even back then when I met you back then,
Yeah.
it there was something, kind
Yeah,
of forming. And, you know, um, just over the years, the different things that we've been able to do together and stuff like that, definitely the friendship has bonded.
absolutely.
I mean, it's awesome how, you have questions or you have things that you want to ask me, advice and stuff like that. You come to me for that. But also we have the fun.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I think of, it's funny because Julie, we were talking about this the other day, and one of the most memorable moments is we've been on a lot of roller coasters and rides, and you know how I react to roller coasters and rides. I'm a little screamy, I'm a little yelly, I don't know. But we were in Gulf Shores, and I don't remember what the thing was called, but it was like the slingshot type
Yes.
bungee
Yep.
jump. That is one of the funniest memories I have of us strapped together, going on it together, not single. We did it like, like a couple, and went down, dropped down, and swung us right into what looked like you're going to run into the
Oh,
building.
yeah.
And I'm screaming and laughing the whole time. And so were you laughing at
I'm
me.
laughing at you. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I love, yeah, I do love thinking about all the different rides we've done over the years, because there's not many people who scream as loud, but who are
Hey,
having, but it's coming from sheer fun.
yeah,
Like, it's not like I'm terrified. It's like, this is so much fun. I'm also screaming really loud about it.
yeah, it
And
is fun.
and your family loves, like, listening, like, to you ride roller coasters, because they're like, oh,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
dad.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's so fun.
So,
Oh, I remember that too.
mhm.
Well, we're spending the month of July on the podcast talking about spiritual habits. And there's this verse in First Timothy. It says, train yourself to be godly. And that Greek word train is this word gymnazo, which is where we get the word gym from in the English language. And so it's this idea that godliness is not just something you try to get better at. You train yourself like any other training. Like, if you want to run a marathon, you train yourself to run a marathon. If you want to lift a certain amount of weights, you got to go to training. If you want to accomplish, some gymnastics feat or ping pong, you train yourself, right? And that same is true with godliness, is that you train yourself through spiritual habits like prayer, reading your Bible. All of those kinds of habits lead to life change. And so I want to just ask you kind of your own spiritual journey. Like, what's your spiritual journey with Jesus, and where did that start? Where are you at now? And how did spiritual habits become a part of your life? So I guess two-part question: spiritual journey,
Okay.
and then spiritual habits.
Well, I would say, I mean, started as a kid. I mean, probably in a different way than it is now. I mean, when
Yeah,
I say started as a kid, I mean we grew up in I'm the last of 9 kids, an Italian family. I mean, we were Catholic to the core,
yeah.
and um, I mean, you went to church. I mean, if you lived in my dad's house, no matter
Mhm.
how old you were, you went every Sunday. I don't think we ever missed. We always sat in the front row. Um, But with that being said, I probably wasn't, necessarily following Jesus. I was going. I was going through the motions. And, once we had kids, we did the same thing. We, started going to a Catholic church, and just for us, it wasn't giving us what we were looking for. And, once the kids started getting a little bit older, we just kind of shopped around and found different churches and everything, and that's kind of where we started getting to where we were going to regular things. Even after a while, we started small home groups that we started going to, where we were starting to do, read our Bibles more, and um, just have a church family. I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's maybe what we never had until later on,
Hmm.
once the kids started getting a little older.
So when did you start? Like you said, you went to church, started practicing Bible reading, prayer. Like, when did that start to become a part of your life?
Mm,
As almost, think about it like as a habit. Like, I do this regularly.
So, as a habit, to be quite honest with you, habit might have just been forming in the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's the move to Naples here,
Yeah.
starting the church. Um, yeah, I would think that's
Yeah.
where it's really been the habit, the
Yeah.
habit. Always going, always believing,
Sure.
strong faith, but never really formed those habits.
What do you think? What worked? Like, what was kind of the tipping point? The things that pushed you from, talking about forming. There's the old saying that goes, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks." Now, I'm not saying you're old, but
Now,
you're seasoned, right? No,
yes.
but honestly, to think about, later in life, in retirement, saying, I want to start developing new habits. That's not really normal. Like, a lot of times people are like, I am who I am. Like, I'm kind of
Hmm.
done with changing and growing. So what for you led you to say, hey, I want to develop new habits, and I'm going to develop new habits that maybe I've struggled in for 40 years, but now
Hmm.
I'm going to make them happen now.
You know, I mean, moving here did change our life,
Yeah.
of what we did even, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
Um, I never really, honestly, we started prayer walking. Maybe
Hmm.
that might be the thing, with you and Monica at the park,
Mm-hmm.
praying and praying for a place and praying for different people, and just the whole ministry. The whole thing was, through that prayer walking, which, to be honest, never really did.
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of, um, stuck to me. And
Mm-hmm.
then, because I don't have a fenced in yard and I have a dog,
Mm-hmm.
Charlie,
Mm-hmm.
he needed exercise and he was used to always being free and everything like that. So I got into a habit with him of walking him every night.
Yeah.
And he doesn't waver from every night. I mean, honestly, I just tried the other night to go without walking him, and he just stood at the door and kept coming back and forth looking at me. So I got in this habit of walking Charlie. And then soon after, as I was walking by homes and stuff, I was praying for people I didn't even know.
Hmm.
I mean, it was funny, all of a sudden, like, wow, this was kind of cool. And that's kind of how that habit for me started.
Yeah.
And then I got to know some of the people, and then I was specifically praying for them or their family. So it was cool. It was
Yeah.
just a habit that, I guess that's what a habit is.
Yeah. It's so habit is there's some definitions of habits. There's a good book called The Power of Habit, another book called Atomic Habits. Each talk about how every habit is a cue, a routine, and a reward. And so those three pieces need to be in place for you to develop. That's how you develop a habit.
Hmm.
There's some kind of cue that tells you it's time to do this thing. And that cue could be anything. It could be as simple as a dog telling you it's time to go for a walk, right?
Right.
Like you're not walking the dog, Charlie's walking you. That's what's happening,
Yes.
But that cue signals to you there's a routine that needs to happen. And that routine for you is now that you walk the dog and you pray for homes, right? You pray for people. And then there's a reward at the end of that routine that helps solidify it. So it might be the feeling, like the dopamine release that happens in your chemical brain. I mean, in your brain, that chemical release that is like, hey, that was good exercise. I feel my spirit more at peace because I spend time with the Lord. There's benefits to the routine that you experience, so that now when the cue happens, your body wants those benefits. So it goes to the routine whether or not you want to do it. And so that's really how a lot of times habits are formed and created. And what I love about your description of it is it was a long time coming, in the sense of you might have tried to pray other different ways, right? You may
Yep.
have in your history and in your life, you may have tried to read the Bible in different ways, but the, the habit that was in your comfort zone of prayer walk, of walking your dog, that doesn't feel intimidating to you at all. But what you did is you took a habit and you stacked onto it a habit that you wanted to create that is a little bit newer. But because you stacked habits, it allows you to develop that new habit because it was tied to an old one. This is called habit stacking. So like if it's like,
Mhm.
hey, if you want to develop a new habit, what habit do you currently have? How do you stack the new one onto that one? So it's like, I want to do 10 push-ups every day. Well, how about when you brush your teeth? That's a habit. That's the cue to do the push-ups. See how that works? And
Yeah.
so you stacking a spiritual habit onto a regular habit you're already doing is genius. I remember one time
Mhm.
I was trying to grow in prayer and I was struggling to make it happen. And I had a dog at the time named Dallas. And I started praying while I walked him when we lived in our apartments in Evansville. And I started realizing that I don't have to have a dedicated separate time for a whole new habit to form, to create, to make it count. I can stack it on top of another thing I'm already doing. And that for me, that was like revolutionary. That maybe every other person's like, hey, that's duh. Like, what took you so long, you know? But maybe for you, it's like, you know, person out there listening to this, what is, you know, if you want to develop a new spiritual habit, stack it onto something you're already doing and help that be your cue. So we talked about prayer walking. That might sound weird to people. So what is prayer walking? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, I think it's just time that I get to spend alone with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's probably the biggest because I start off. It seems like almost I have the same walk routine spot. The dog goes to the bathroom in the same spot. We stop at the same spot, but it kind of starts off with just kind of looking at, wow, I mean, this is where we live now. This is what's going on. I just kind of absorb everything. It's beautiful out most of the time. I'm like, wow. And then by the time I get on the next block over, I kind of start praying, and I'm praying for the people that live in this house or the people that live in that house, or um, just different things. And you mentioned rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I probably never really invited people to church much before this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I run into people, I tell them where we're from, I tell them we have a church. I mean, and we're seeing people showing up from
Yeah.
that. And that's the rewarding. I mean, and just even some of the people that are in the subdivision that
Mm-hmm.
are now going to our church, they don't even know it, but I've been praying for them for over a year now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the rewarding part. That's the part
Mhm.
that's really, stuck to me on that.
That's awesome. And just like practical things, like this is something anybody can do. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have a huge history of faith. It is prayer walking is described as praying on site with insight. So how do I walk in a place and look and have a little bit of insight into what's going on, praying for people's homes, praying over strangers I don't know. You see a bike in their driveway, you pray for the kid that lives in that place. You see um, anything, two cars. There's maybe this is a married couple. I'm gonna pray for their marriage. You know, you see whatever, a flag for the veterans. Maybe they're probably a veteran. Pray for them, that what they went through, and to thank them. All of those things are keys, are triggers for things to pray for. And so then I would just a couple of things real quick on prayer walking. Walk with your eyes open. That's okay. You can pray with your eyes open. You don't want to walk with your eyes closed. That's dangerous. Okay. You can pray out loud or in your head. You don't have to do either one. Which one do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you pray out
I
loud?
usually do in my head.
In your head? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do both. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can do either way. Pray out loud or in your head. Um, you can be interrupted. So like if you're praying and someone walks up, allow that interruption to happen. That's probably a God's divine appointment that you need to talk to that person that he's putting in your path at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
so these are all different ways, just little tidbit practical tips on how to do prayer walking. Nothing revolutionary. It's more of the quantity of prayer leads to the quality of prayer. So you don't get quality with not a lot of time. You have to invest time in it, and then you have these incredible moments that pop up because you have this mass amount of time you've committed to doing it, day after day after day after day. So have you or others seen your life change because of this spiritual habit of prayer walking?
Um, yeah, I have. Um, I mean, I think I have, and I think some others have.
Yeah.
Um, might not be completely prayer walking, but one other thing that I've done, it's not prayer walking, but I set my alarm every day for 1 o'clock. And I tend to be playing golf a lot of times at 1 o'clock,
Yeah.
still playing. And I have a friend that hears that alarm go off. And he knows now because, the first couple of times he's like, well, what do you got that going off for? This, that, and the other. And I tell him, started saying, this is to remind me to pray for certain people. And just do it. And I told him, you're one of them.
Hmm.
And he just really took that to heart. And he's always listening now. He wants to hear, what the good news is about. So I think it's really cool. That's one of my favorite things. And it just happened again not long ago. Oh, that's John's alarm to pray for everybody, or something like that. He made the comment to our group, which was sweet,
That's neat.
because yeah.
I definitely feel like you have said before that there's a connection between, you think, your prayer life, prayer walking, and invitation, like inviting people. Like
Oh,
you've
totally.
like, can you explain that a bit? Like before you weren't prayer walking, what was your inviting people to church? Where were you at on that versus where you're at today, and how you see
Right.
yourself as this is? You said, I feel like I know my calling better.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Like I said before, I'm just walking the dog. You're walking the dog. You say hi to people, you move on. And I'm guessing it's just the Holy Spirit is just saying, hey, don't walk past this guy right here.
Yeah.
He might be needing a place or needing to hear the word. So yeah, I don't think it ever, I guess probably if I wasn't prayer walking, I would never make those connections with those people other than hi. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm good at saying hello.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can say hello to people, but it was, sometimes I think, wow, you just talked to that person about Jesus and you invited them to church, and, wouldn't have been a thing. I think this has been like you said, a good habit.
Yeah.
Good habit.
And you've talked before about, like, as you develop this habit, you see yourself in your calling in life different now than before.
Yeah.
Like,
With
yeah, like you have a major purpose that is being lived out day in and day out, versus maybe before you felt like, you went to church and it was good and you believed in Jesus,
yeah.
was good, but that purpose piece has shifted. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, we moved here on a whim, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know the story. I mean, pretty much I got Julie calling me, telling me, hey, Monica and kids inside, they're moving to Florida and they're starting a church. And her next words were, and so are we. You know, so there wasn't much time to think about it. I mean, I got a phone call that said, plan on retiring because we're going. And we see our purpose here daily,
Yeah.
for real. Julie's meeting tons of people. I'm meeting people. We're inviting people. We're doing home group with people that we didn't know a year ago. We had 15 people in a home group. So yes, that looks like our purpose has definitely changed. I
How do you
mean,
feel like, with, what your faith was before this move and this change and this spiritual habit really coming into play, compared to where your faith is now? How has God blessed you with this change? Like, you're doing things, inviting people to church, prayer walking regularly, have this larger purpose for the kingdom than you did before. How do you feel like what blessing have you received from Lord? We talk about the made for more life, that this is a fuller life, being on mission with
right.
Jesus. So how have you experienced that?
Well, I mean, I loved my job.
Yeah.
I really did. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie, it was stressful a lot of times.
Yeah.
So just that alone, not working, being here with you guys and the kids, the starting up of the church. I mean, those are blessings.
Yeah.
Those are,
Yeah.
are blessings to us. And so that, yeah, I mean, I think we have the made for more life here now
Yeah.
than we did back in St. Louis, which I loved.
Yeah.
All my family and friends there. But this, I do truly believe this has been a calling.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You have a last word, favorite quote, something you've been wrestling through you'd like to share with everybody?
Boy, I'm not a big quote guy, but I would say that if you're looking for an easy way to get closer to Jesus, try prayer walking. For real.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I never even thought of it like that. You said stacking wait, what did you say?
Stacking habits. Yeah.
Stacking habits. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
walk the dog, stack something on top of it. Brush your teeth, stack something on top of it. So yeah, that's really cool. So I would say that would be a great way for you to start a journey.
That's awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for your time and for jumping on this today. If you like what you're hearing at Sy Huffer and Friends, you can like us or comment or subscribe. We are on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube channel. And so we will have more episodes coming out this next several weeks. So make sure you stay tuned for what's happening with all of those things. And as always, you were made for more, so don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.